Hello again, and welcome to Story Time with Nana, Lynn, and Glow. We are still continuing on our book, I Love Christmas, compiled by Walter Retan, and of course illustrated by Carolyn Ewing. Today, we are going to be reading Christmas Eve on the Battlefront, and it is written by Kate Seredy. Christmas Eve on the Battlefront. This story comes from the book called The Singing Tree by Kate Seredy. The author was born in Budapest, Hungary, where she worked as a nurse in military hospitals during World War I. The book tells about the adventures of two cousins, Kate and Jancy, who live on a farm in the Hungarian countryside. In the excerpt reprinted here, Jancy's father has been sent home from the army to recuperate from wounds received while fighting against Russian troops. On Christmas Eve, he tells his family the strange tale of a miracle that took place just a year earlier on the Russian-Hungarian battlefront. So here we go. Let's find out about that. It looks interesting. Christmas Eve on the battlefront. Father had saved one story for Christmas Eve and told it while the candles were burning on the tree. The faint sound of village church bells coming across the plains made this story of another Christmas Eve sound like a song of hope. Hope that maybe kindness and love, and the love of peace, would be strong enough to stop the war soon. For the first time, he spoke of things like offensive, march, trenches, shell fire. But the dark picture between these words that was created was only a backdrop against which his story of human souls shone all the brighter. Last Christmas Eve, he began, we had received orders to be prepared for a surprise attack against the Russians. Our trenches had been under heavy fire for days. We had either to retreat or to advance, and those who planned the moves of war decided on an advance. We had been waiting for hours, crouching against the walls of our trenches, when the word came, go. We crept out into the snow, countless silent dark shapes against the whiteness, and ran to the sunken road which lay between our lines and the mountainside where the Russian trenches were. Shells screamed overhead and burst behind us, drowning out all noise that we might have made. And when we reached the road, whispered orders from the captain scurried down the line like mice. Advance along the road. Don't dare make a sound or strike a light. We tramped in knee-deep snow, skirting the friendly hillside that sheltered us from the fire, stealing toward the Russians. And then, just ahead of me, I saw a boy kneel in the snow before a wayside crucifix and light a candle. It flickered in the still air, casting a feeble light on the image of Christ above it. Oh, Lord, the man next to me sighed, reaching into his knapsack for a candle. Others had seen the glowing light, and as I looked around, I saw that more and more candles were lighted all around. A whisper spread like the order from the captain from mouth to mouth. Only this was not an order from the captain. Light a candle for Christmas Eve, men whispered, and their very words seemed to turn into tiny stars as dozens and dozens, then hundreds of candles came forth from the knapsacks to be lighted and stuck in the snow. The hillside now was one glow of light, and the crucifix was bright with an unearthly brightness. We were a target for the Russian guns, but we never gave it a thought. For a little while, we were lost in prayer until one of the men cried, "They have stopped firing, look!" Across the valley, on the hillside where the Russians were encamped, a few small flames began to tremble, then more and more. Candles, hundreds of them, thousands, one for every gun that now was silent. Around me, men began to sing Holy Night, Silent Night. And from across the valley, the song came back to us 1,000-fold. Behind the lines, so facing each other, the guns had ceased to roar, and no more shells were screaming between men and the stars. Perhaps the Christ child had walked between the lines, and while he walked, peace had stayed the guns. Father had finished his story. Kate sighed a long, tremulous sigh. Oh, that was beautiful. What happened after? Father shivered as if with the cold, and rose to close the door. Only then did he answer. The candles burned down, Kate, and darkness closed in again. Let those who made the war hear the story of what happened after. Let them see. He lifted his arm, and covered his eyes, but when he looked up, his face was smiling. Oh no, this is another Christmas Eve, and the Christ child must not find hate in our hearts. And that is true, and I hope that's true for today, because I'm recording this on Christmas Eve. And I do hope that we find love in our hearts and peace in our hearts, forgiveness in our hearts. Let the Christ child reign, and God bless.